Magic can't last forever, folks. This is KD Drummond of bloggingtheboys.com, and I'm here to give you the game recap on the Cowboys' 34-31 heartbreaking loss at the hands of the New Orleans Saints. It was a difficult game for the Cowboys from the get-go. The defense started off very lethargic. They kind of matched the energy that was coming out of the stands. They allowed the Saints to methodically march down the field on the 80-yard drive to start off the game. And the Cowboys did eventually get a little lucky when, after like a 17-yard drive, the Saints ended up missing a close field goal that could have stretched the lead to double digits. That finally woke the Cowboys up in the second quarter, and they were able to get some things going. But the theme of how the Saints dominated the time of possession in the first quarter, that pretty much carried itself out throughout the rest of the game. It was aided by the fact that the Cowboys positively were able to score on some quick strike drives. As I said, in the second quarter, they quickly got back in the game when Tony Romo, who had just an incredible game today, he was able to do a play-action fake to DeMarco Murray. Again, the play-action comes into play with the Cowboys since DeMarco Murray's comeback. That's become a real weapon for their offense. But the play-action fake to DeMarco Murray allowed Dez Bryant to get underneath his cornerback. He was in single coverage. Dez leapt for the ball, caught it, made a quick move to the outside of the cornerback, and walked his way into the end zone for a 58-yard score. Just a few plays after that, after Dallas was able to get the ball back from New Orleans, Tony Romo found Dez Bryant on a quick strike slant where Bryant was able to escape an ankle tackle by the cornerback that was checking him. I believe it was Patrick Robinson again. And then he mushed a safety in the face, got some space between the two, and then he moseyed on down the field for another 58-yard touchdown. That score actually gave Dallas a lead, 14-7, or it might have been 17-10 at the time. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit foggy right now because I was screaming so much during the game and during the comeback. But regardless, that gave Dez Bryant, I believe, 145 yards at the time, which going into halftime tied his career high for yardage in the game. Dez ended up with 224 receiving yards on the game, the 2 touchdowns on 9 catches, as he further cemented himself as one of the elite receivers in the NFL. He now has 12 touchdowns, depending on what James Jones of Green Bay did today. He should be tied or at least in second place for the NFL lead in that. He's well over 1,000 yards. He's closing in on 1,300 yards now for the season. And this was actually just an incredible day for Dez Bryant. Hat goes off to him. Tony Romo, the matching part of the combination, Romo to Dez, is becoming, very lethal. He threw for 400-plus yards on the day, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. As he continued his December roll, the Cowboys do fall to 3-1, but you can't put it on Tony Romo for this game. Again, he's now thrown 25 touchdowns against only 2 interceptions since December of 2009, which is just an otherworldly statistic. It makes no sense how quality Romo has been since 2009 in December, and he is really the crux of what's fueling the Cowboys with so many injuries to the defense coming into play. The yardage for the day put Tony Romo well over 4,500 yards on the season. That is his first time over 4,500 yards and also sets the franchise mark for productivity. Unfortunately, on the flip side of the game, Drew Brees also threw for over 400 yards. He threw for 440 as he was able to just pick apart a depleted Dallas defense. The underneath stuff was working. The stuff to the running backs was working. The stuff across the middle was working. Dallas really had no answer as they were playing with their 5th and 6th string linebackers. Ernie Sims, his concussion symptoms returned. He went out with dizziness. Alex Albright, he hurt his knee in the middle of the game, and he was out until after halftime, and then he was spotty after that. That really put Dan Connor and Brady Papenga, another street signing, that put them in the crosshairs, and it was pretty much a wrap from that point. The Cowboys did bench Danny McCray. They started Eric Frampton. They also played Charlie Pepper. Both of them had their miscues during the game. Mike Jenkins had some Olay defense where he just wasn't wrapping up on the tackles. You'd like to single him out, but the whole Dallas defense was having problems tackling on the day. They couldn't get off the field on third down. That was a big problem that they were experiencing throughout the game. I believe that the Saints at one time, they were 5 of 6 for third downs in the first half, and Dallas was actually fortunate to only be down 3 points at halftime, even though they did make a clock management error when they got the ball back with a minute to go, minute and 11 seconds to go in the first half, and they didn't milk the clock, and they allowed the Saints to get the ball back and actually score 3 points before the half, which ended up to be in the final margin. Obviously, if they didn't give those up, things would have played out differently throughout the rest of the game, but you never know. Dallas did find themselves themselves down 14 points in the fourth quarter with about 10 minutes remaining. They get the ball back. Tony Romo tried to bring Miles Austin along, but he dropped two crucial passes that really had set him up to be one of the two offensive goats of the game. It looked like the Cowboys were going to lose off of that. The Saints were able to drive the clock down to under 5 minutes, but fortunately the Dallas defense stiffened up. They forced a punt. Dallas gets the ball back, and Tony Romo finds Dez Bryant again. For some reason, they didn't keep trying to get that connection throughout the third quarter and didn't go back to it until the fourth quarter. 41-yard pass soon set up a Dwayne Harris touchdown in the left front corner of the end zone by the pylon. He toe-tapped to find his way in, cut the lead to 7. Dallas forced another punt. They get the ball back. They drive down the field, and Tony Romo finds Miles Austin on 4th down, falling in the end zone for the touchdown catch. It was just a remarkable game by Romo to come through in the clutch with only 15 seconds left to allow Dallas to get the game into overtime. I mentioned that Austin was coming back from being a possible GOAT. The other offensive GOAT would have to be DeMarco Murray. After the Cowboys had forced a punt, Dwayne Harris let the punt bounce and it rolled all the way to inside the Cowboys' 5-yard line, really put them in a bind. And then on the first play, with the game tied at 17, DeMarco Murray fumbled right before his knee touched the ground. The Saints recovered. They go in and score a touchdown a couple plays after that, really put Dallas in a tough situation, and it really drained all the momentum from Cowboys tying the score as soon as, on their first drive of the second half. So, all in all, it was a lot of rough spots for the game. But again, Dallas did come back in the fourth quarter, and then they sent the game to overtime. Jason Witten in overtime caught his 102nd and 103rd passes of the year, thus surpassing Tony Gonzalez for the NFL season record for catches by a tight end. He now holds that by himself, but the last catch was only 5 yards on 2nd and 10. The third down pass to Dez Bryant was incomplete. I can't tell off a first view if Dez stopped running on the slant or if Tony Romo just overthrew him, but regardless, they weren't able to match up on that. Punt the ball back to the Saints. They find Jimmy Graham wide open. He gets down the sideline, which was the theme of the day. And then a couple plays after that, after they were at the edges of field goal range, they find Marcus Colston, rookie Morris Claiborne, who had an up and down game. Overall, it was pretty okay, but he did have some slip ups today. But he punched the ball out from Colston. Unfortunately, the ball rolled down the field towards the Cowboys' end zone, and Jimmy Graham and Eric Frampton gave chase. Jimmy Graham was able to outmuscle Eric Frampton because he's actually faster and bigger than him for the ball, and they reviewed the play, but it was called a fumble instead of an incompletion. It was a little iffy on whether he did make a football move, but I'm not going to argue with the rest because I'd have to sit here and talk about all the holding calls they never called on the against the Saints for holding the Cowboys all game long. So suffice to say, that gave them a short 20-yard field goal. Garrett Hartley boosted through. Game is over. Cowboys fall to 8-7. Fortunately, all isn't lost when it comes to the playoff scenarios. The Giants are getting it handed to them right now. They're down by 20 points halfway through the third quarter. So it looks like next weekend's matchup at FedEx Field against the rival Washington Redskins, who are now sitting at 9-6, will be for the NFC East Championship. It will be a crazy game. These two teams haven't met with this much on the line in the season in a very long time. It's going to be your holiday season matchup that you have been dying for. I mean, what better way to commemorate this great rivalry that the Cowboys own, by the way, than to have this game be for all the marbles. If the Cowboys win, they're in. If they lose, they're out. I believe that there are some scenarios where the Redskins could lose and still make it as a wild card team, but regardless, all we're worried about is us, and the Cowboys still have a chance. Will DeMarcus Ware be back for that game? He left actually in the middle of a play. He ran off the field with a re-aggravation of a shoulder strain, so we have to worry about whether he's going to be in the game next week. Again, Dallas is depleted along the linebacker core, so you just really don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to keep on fighting because that's what the Cowboys do under Jason Garrett. Hats off to him. Jason Garrett, I commend you for having your team ready to fight every week, and we'll be back next week to see what we can do, Cowboys fans. Once again, don't forget to subscribe. This is our YouTube channel, SBN Blogging the Boys. Don't forget about SBN NFL as well as SB Nation. Salute.